was such a nice man, such a good person, good-hearted, never would hurt a soul.
He wanted his own business, something to make money.
Jerry was gay. He was always searching for love, and it just didn't happen.
A vicious murder.
32 times he was stabbed.
This is personal, some sort of personal rage.
Was it someone Jerry just met?
He was on multiple dating apps.
Jerry was looking for a new roommate. Could this be somebody he brought home?
A prison pen pal?
We have an inmate who has a criminal record that's been released. Did he come over to Jerry's house?
Or perhaps an old friend?
Wayne was a troubled fellow. He would spend a lot of nights on Jerry's couch.
Jerry always said he felt sorry for him.
What was it that led to a killer relationship?
I was like, God, Jerry just signed his death warrant.
He tried to fight for his life.
Ask anyone who knows 46-year-old Jerry Moore, and they'll tell you this: he never met a stranger. Gregarious and kind, Jerry has a knack for putting people at ease. That's why it's so shocking when on a cold winter's night in January 2014, his life is cut short by a ruthless killer. The search for the culprit leads law enforcement down a path of unexpected twists and turns, where the truth is elusive and justice is not swift.
County 911. My neighbor has been, the house is like it's been robbed. Oh my God, please hurry.
We pull up to the house, and then I make contact with the initial responding officers. They said the neighbor across the street called and said that they found the door open and the house looked like it was ransacked. I walk in the house. As soon as I walk into the living room, I see blood everywhere. As I stepped further and looked over the edge of the couch, that's when I observed the victim lying face down in a pool of blood. We go over to the body, and then once they'd start pulling his shirt up, it's when we start noticing the stab wounds. He not only had stab wounds on his back, but he had stab wounds on the front, defensive wounds. We learned the victim's name was Jerry Moore. He suffered. He definitely suffered.
It was very apparent that he had been there for more than several hours. When you see injuries of this nature, my investigative mind immediately goes to this is some sort of personal rage, something with a lot of emotion behind it.
There was no forced entry at all into that house. So right away, it's telling me that whoever came into this house, Jerry had to have known who they were and let them in. You just start thinking, okay, who did he have in his house?
Jerry Moore is born on June 3rd, 1967 in Orrville, Ohio.
Jerry was a real sweet boy as he grew up. He was outgoing and happy. If he just met you, he would do anything for you. If you needed $1, he would give you $2.
By the time he's 2 years old, Jerry's parents split up. His mother has primary custody, but he spends weekends and holidays with his father and stepmother, Judy.
Jerry called me Mom. We just loved each other and became the best friends there ever was. He was real smart. He could figure out anything. Jerry tried to save every dime that he had. He wanted to start his own business. When he graduated from high school, he went into computers.
As a teenager, Jerry has a knack for business, but he silently struggles to find his place socially.
He shared that he was gay when he was in his 20s. And I told him, I love you, I don't care about him being gay.
Despite the love and support from his family, Jerry finds life in Orrville, Ohio, stifling. With a population of just under 9,000, the small town just isn't big enough for the life Jerry wants. So, at age 29, he moves to Atlanta, Georgia.
The Atlanta area is kind of what we call the gay mecca of the East. He would go to the local bars trying to meet people. Our friendship started in 1996. I had gone out to a little local country and western bar. When I came off the dance floor, he came over there and grabbed my shoulder and spun me around. He goes, "I want to see who is this queen in the red Wonder Woman boots." That started our friendship. Jerry and I, we were always platonic. We had fun, a good friendship. But he always was wanting to settle down and have a partner.
Jerry's love life is lacking, but his business acumen is not. In 1996, he leaves the tech world to try his hand in the real estate business.
He told me that he just wanted something to make money. He bought several houses and he was trying to flip them.
You know, he just wanted to reach a level to feel successful and his family be proud of him.
Over a period of 10 years, Jerry successfully renovates and sells dozens of properties. And in 2006, he buys a place of his own in Marietta, Georgia, 20 miles north of Atlanta.
Jerry lived across the street. He worked from home. He was just always there and decorating his house and doing things. And he was like another brother to me.
He liked the fact that house had split living quarters because in his mind, he always thought he would have a roommate. Since he was gay, he thought another gay person will get along great. Jerry posted ads and he found someone to rent the room.
His name is Ross. Ross and Jerry hit it off as roommates and as friends. A few months after moving in, they start talking business.
The bakery that Ross worked at, the owner needed to sell it. So Ross approached Jerry and he said, "You know, would you consider investing in a bakery?" Jerry was open to it. Jerry handled the money side of everything, and Ross was the baker and kept the operations going throughout the week.
It's an ideal situation. Jerry and Ross own it 50-50, and business booms. 3 years after they join forces, Jerry and Ross have enough money to expand and renovate the bakery.
There was a whole new cake decorating room. Ross was excited to show it, and they had a grand reopening. They had the highest revenues they'd ever made. Jerry was quite excited.
The bakery continues to flourish, but on the home front, change is in the air. In 2013, after 7 years as roommates, Ross decides he needs a place of his own. He moves into a townhouse closer to the bakery, while Jerry looks for a new roommate. But instead of a fresh start, Jerry is met with an awful end. Found dead in his living room, violently stabbed to death.
Here, with Bruce with a lot of traffic right here.
This was my first case as a lead detective. I've assisted in homicides before, but this was my first time as being the actual lead detective. And it's a lot of pressure. The house was dusted for fingerprints. Jerry's cell phone was collected. That's an important piece of evidence.
We made contact with several neighbors to ask them about mysterious vehicles or suspicious persons that they saw at the home.
The neighbors, Pam and John Blair, made the 911 call. They were probably the closest with him. They knew about Jerry. They talked to Jerry all the time.
They said Jerry was a partner in a bakery with a gentleman named Ross Byrne. They said Ross and Jerry lived together for 7 years.
Because he lived with the victim for so long, he would have the most information of who Jerry was friends with, who he had problems with. So we made contact with Ross. We told him that Jerry was killed. He was surprised, and I asked him if he would come in and talk to us. Ross agrees to come into our headquarters. He wasn't upset, and I'm thinking to myself right off the bat, that's kind of strange.
What was your guys' relationship like?
We used to do occasional dinners and talk business.
Okay.
Ross said they lived separate rooms in the house. Ross's room was to the back and Jerry's room was in the front. They barely had a friendship. The extent of their relationship was more just the business. When it comes to stabbings, I'll always look at somebody's hands, and I'm looking to see if there's any kind of injuries to show there was any kind of fight or struggle. I looked at his hands, and I didn't notice anything on his hands.
Did he mention anything of, like, the name of anybody or anything when he mentioned about his prospects for a new roommate? No.
Ross is like, yeah, he was looking for a new roommate and made mention that he possibly had a prospect for a new roommate but never had a name.
Was he close with?
He has two friends, Randy and Wayne. It was like beginning of last summer that Wayne showed up. I think his last name was New, N-E-W. Screwed up guy. They met in the bar. Jerry always said he felt sorry for him because he couldn't find a job.
Ross told us that Wayne was a troubled fellow. He was broke, he was homeless, he would spend a lot of nights on Jerry's couch, and at times he would borrow Jerry's car. That kind of raised suspicions about Wayne. Here's a guy that frequents Jerry's house, possibly knows Jerry's patterns. So this was pushing Wayne to the top of the list.
We needed to find Wayne.
Somebody really had some hatred and really wanted to make sure he was dead.
The last young man he talked to was in jail in Kentucky. I mean, Chris.
If you had to guess where Wayne is right now, where do you think he is?
I don't know.
He's got a documented history of using a knife.
He committed the murder. We just had to prove it.
Hours into the murder investigation of Jerry Moore, his former roommate, Ross, tells Cobb County investigators that Jerry used to allow a drifter named Wayne to occasionally sleep on his couch. Luckily, investigators discover that Jerry's phone is not password protected, and his call logs are readily available, making the search for Wayne that much easier.
That night, we get Wayne's phone number out of Jerry's phone. We subpoena Wayne's phone. We get the records back from Verizon, but all we get is a name. We don't have an address associated with it. We noticed a number that this Wayne guy was constantly calling. There was a lot of calls made to a female by the name of Michelle Burnett. We were able to get an address for Michelle. Detective Stoddard and Sergeant Knobloch went out to speak to her.
We met with Michelle. We explained to her we had information to believe that someone by the name of Wayne may have information to help us.
You know Wayne New?
Yes! I know Wayne, no. That's my friend. I met him when I used to work at Verizon. That's how me and him met. He was a greeter, and I worked at Verizon.
When's the last time you called him, Mike?
I speak to Wayne every freaking day, just about on the phone. What the heck happened? What did he do?
She said she hadn't spoken to him in the last 24 to 48 hours, which was not normal.
Last time you talked to him, what was going on with him?
He's always stressed out. He can't handle stress very well. He's like a basket case.
What do you mean by that?
His family doesn't really help him. So he goes from friend to friend house.
If you had to guess where Wayne is right now, where do you think he is?
I don't know. Do you want me to try to call him?
Yep.
Michelle calls, but gets no answer.
We need to talk to him, and she understood that completely. We were hoping that she would be able to make contact with Wayne at some point and see where he was at.
Hoping Michelle connects with Wayne, the detectives now need to identify who Jerry Moore's next of kin is and inform them of his murder. Around sunrise the next morning, they began making the difficult calls.
They called my husband, Jerry's father, Larry, and told him, and I just fell to pieces. It just tore me apart. It killed me.
Jerry's mother reached out to me. She said the police called and he had been murdered in a home invasion. How in the world could this even happen to him? In my mind, it starts, playing out scenarios of how, when, and why. When Jerry said, well, I'm going to be placing ads for a roommate again, I really felt like it's possible that some random person without intentions of renting a place didn't like gay people and was going to answer the ad, then do harm to them. So I phoned the Cobb County detectives.
I get a phone call from Jerry's friend, Randy. And Randy was very concerned that Jerry brought the wrong guy home.
I remember Detective Stockinger asked me what I knew of Wayne.
Randy mentioned that Jerry was trying to help Wayne find a job, so we know he's somebody close to Jerry.
Knowing what I knew about Wayne and how much he adored Jerry as a friend, I just couldn't believe that. And I said, I don't think he's capable of anything like that.
36 hours after Jerry Moore is found dead, the autopsy report comes in. While no foreign DNA is discovered on the body, the savageness of the crime is clearly evident.
32 times he was stabbed. That amount of stab wounds. You know, somebody really had some hatred for him and really wanted to make sure he was dead.
At this point, the investigators consider Wayne their strongest suspect. He's finally located 3 days after the murder.
Wayne's friend, Michelle, was able to get in contact with Wayne and told Wayne that the police were looking for him. So Wayne contacted us and agreed to meet with us. He said he was staying with a female friend. He was very fidgety, very nervous.
Slow down. Because you're at high speed right now, and you're just, I don't know why you're, I'm just scared. I don't know why I'm being questioned, number one. Jerry's dead. So that's why we're here. I understand that. I'm just panicked and I'm nervous.
We know Jerry's killed sometime Sunday, so we started asking him what his weekend looked like.
Let's talk about Sunday. Sunday, a friend of mine came in with fever. We went out and got something to eat, and he dropped me off around 11:30-ish. What did you say his name is? Fever, C-I-V-U-R.
He said they hung out at his apartment for the day and then went out to dinner, and he actually gave us his name information. You know, obviously I want to reach out to this friend now and confirm if this story is true.
Then, Wayne says something that grabs the detective's attention.
I do know that Jerry is one of the people nothing concerned about because the last young man he talked to was in jail in Kentucky. I mean, Chris.
He said Jerry was pen pals and friends with an inmate in Kentucky with the first name Chris. Jerry found a lot of these inmates through different inmate websites. Wayne said this Chris guy was supposed to be getting out of prison in September of 2013, which was just 3 months before the murder.
I get scared to check your past, and I got had a conversation with you. I said, why do you talk to these high people that can hurt you?
And I said, why are you so concerned? And he said, because he talked about that when Chris was going to get out, Chris was supposed to come visit Jerry.
You have a convicted felon, possibly for a violent crime, and now you're possibly opening up your home to them.
Cobb County investigators are on the hunt for Jerry Moore's killer, and a statement from a drifter named Wayne has police concerned. Wayne claims he spent the day with a friend named Tabor when Jerry was murdered, and he thought Jerry had plans to meet up with a recently released parolee named Chris. But is Wayne telling the truth, or is he trying to throw detectives off his track?
After we got done interviewing Wayne, the first thing I did was reach out to this friend, Tiburcio. Tiburcio confirmed Wayne's story.
Investigators are satisfied that Wayne is being truthful and cross him off the suspect list. Now they turn their attention to Chris, the parolee who was allegedly planning to move in with Jerry.
We'd researched through the Kentucky prison system. We went online and started searching inmates. Eventually, I was able to identify a person by the name of Chris Staggs, who was released from prison in September of 2013, which was just 3 months before the murder. I reached out to the local sheriff's office. They were familiar with Chris, and they told us that he was living with his parents in Kentucky and that Chris also had a girlfriend. We learned that since he was released from prison, there was no communications at all between Jerry and Chris. We didn't completely eliminate him, but he wasn't my main focus anymore. It's a little frustrating because we had no direction to go in at that time. I want to prove to my supervisors that they made the right choice by making me the lead on it, and I keep hitting dead ends.
2 weeks after his death, Jerry's loved ones meet to honor their friend.
We decided to hold a local memorial in Marietta, and a lot of people turned out. There was an opportunity during that memorial for friends to deliver thoughts and memories of Jerry, and I do remember Wayne sharing, and I think that was healing for him, and I'm just thankful that he could be there and be a part of that.
Both Randy and Pam brought it to my attention that Ross Byrne never showed up.
Ross, his partner, ex-roommate, never showed up at the memorial. It was just odd.
That started raising a little bit of suspicion. Like, here's this guy that lived with him for 7 years, owns a business with him, and yet he doesn't show up to his memorial service. Why? During my conversation with Jerry's mom, she said Jerry wasn't happy with the bakery business and Jerry wanted out. That's kind of strange. When we talked to him, why didn't Ross mention that to us, that Jerry wanted out of the business?
He was very money-oriented.
That raised a lot of flags with us.
After further interviews with friends and family, we started learning that Ross and Jerry's relationship wasn't great. There was some tension between both of them.
Thinking about Jerry and Ross and the dysfunctional dynamic of their relationship, it was like an old married couple who stay together and just coexist, living in different parts of the house. They just really weren't gelling well together anymore. And so I conveyed that to Detective Stockinger.
Randy said that Jerry was just tired of dealing with the business and he just wanted out. He wanted Ross to pay him $35,000 for his share of the business to buy him out, and Ross just kept refusing to buy him out of the business.
And there's something else. Jerry had named his friend Randy Doolittle as executor of his estate. After the crime scene was cleared, Randy collected Jerry's will and a business agreement for the bakery.
One of the provisions said if either party is deceased, that the surviving party will gain full and free control of the bakery.
Randy came to us, and Randy said, hey, I got copies of this business agreement.
When you start looking at this case, who would benefit from Jerry getting murdered?
Maybe Ross sees this as his way of getting Jerry out of the picture. If anything ever happened to Jerry, Ross would get the whole business for himself. This could have been the plan all along.
When I read that, that was like a gut punch. I was like, God, Jerry just signed his death warrant back when he signed that document.
Three weeks after Jerry Moore's found stabbed to death at his home in Marietta, Georgia, investigators are wondering if a business deal gone wrong is motive for murder.
Money, love, power, revenge. And almost every single homicide, you can toss one of those at it. So now we have money.
We decide it's time to bring Ross back in for a second interview.
So you knew a couple months ago Jerry would want you to buy him out of the business. What was your thoughts?
I guess so. I don't know. I'm not interested.
You're just not getting it, man.
What?
Because you're sitting here saying, I guess so, I'm not inside of your head. I can't figure out what you're thinking.
You brought this proposition to me before, and I said no.
Why?
Because I was happy with the comfort level of the business.
He was holding back on us. I started not being as nice because I wanted answers.
We're going to go back to the weekend of 25th, 26th. Did you do anything Saturday night?
No, I don't. Cool.
All right, let's go to Sunday. What'd you do on Sunday?
That Saturday, he worked at the bakery all day. And then that Sunday, he said he had a housewarming party for his new townhome.
What time did everybody leave?
6.
What'd you do that night?
Nothing.
We subpoenaed the phone records for Ross's phone, and we noticed that over the weekend, Ross calls this number over and over. We start asking him about that particular phone number.
So you've talked an awful lot here.
Now this is the 25th. This is Saturday. All right? The phone calls start at 11:38 in the morning on Saturday. All the way up until 11:30 p.m. on Saturday, and you had a conversation at 11:30 p.m. on Saturday night. So who did you talk to?
I have no idea.
You know, we kept stressing, you're calling this number over and over. You can't tell me you don't know who this number belongs to.
So who did you talk to?
It could have been a boyfriend.
What is the name of the person you talked to? I don't care that it's a boyfriend. But you sit here laughing, you don't know. I'm asking you this for a reason.
It could have been somebody I had over.
So it's somebody you had over that would be calling you this much up until here, and then the number just disappears.
Maybe I said yes.
So who is it?
It's John.
John who?
Wheeler.
Finally, he comes clean and he says that this is his friend Jonathan Wheeler. John is straight and he doesn't want people to think that John's gay, but he was pursuing John, hoping that he could develop a relationship with John. Why is he so protective over this person? There's more to not wanting people to think that John's gay too. There's more to this.
All right, let's go.
Looking further into Jonathan and Ross, we learn that after Jerry was killed, John went with Ross to Key West. We were able to pull up a Facebook account of Jonathan's with him posting pictures, almost like they're down in Key West celebrating. We learned that Ross bought him the van for his construction business, would buy him tools, and kind of help him out to get the business off the ground. So we're looking at the amount of time these two are spending together, the things Ross is doing for Jonathan.
And we found out that Wheeler had done a 10-year prison term for an armed robbery of a Taco Bell. The weapon he used during that robbery was a knife, just like in Jerry's murder.
Okay, well, we have a stabbing murder. Ross has been hiding this guy. This guy's done hard time. It's a violent background. His weapon of choice is a knife. Looking into John Wheeler, we take that cell phone number that we kept questioning Ross about. We subpoenaed the phone company for copies of all the phone records.
Cell phone records for that number that John was using showed him calling Jerry on Sunday the 26th, the day of the murder.
Why was Jonathan's phone calling Jerry? This guy's starting to look better and better for the murder.
So we were like, well, we need to talk to John Wheeler.
I've never killed anybody in my life.
Jonathan's an angry, violent person. Maybe he took all his anger out on Jerry that night. This is your business partner. Now, look at the damn picture.
We wanted justice for Jerry. I was so frustrated.
He's like, I don't even remember doing it, but I stabbed this guy.
Cobb County investigators are zeroing in on Jerry's former business partner, Ross Byrne, and a man named John Wheeler. Not only did the two men communicate with each other over a dozen times on the day of the murder, but Wheeler has a violent past. His weapon of choice, a knife.
We decide, let's bring Jonathan in for an interview.
What's your relationship like with Ross? I mean, you guys just...
He's a very, very good friend, and he's a very good-hearted person to me.
He told us a friend of his introduced him to Ross, and Ross agreed to give him a job at the bakery.
Yeah, but I'm not cut out for bakery. He fired me.
But later on, he started his own construction business.
John told us that he looked at Ross as a mentor and someone he looked up to that would help him out.
What about Jerry?
When I first worked at the bakery, Jerry came on to me. Jerry, I'm not gay. Don't try that. Why does this guy keep talking to me?
John didn't like Jerry for that reason. So now we're looking at a possible motive.
Try to think about that weekend, that Saturday, the Sunday, and the Monday.
I honestly don't remember.
It's funny that people can pick and choose what they want to remember and what they don't want to remember.
I really don't remember last week. I work.
We all work.
I also did, like you said, 10 years, and you get locked in a slammer for 10 years, and your mind is shot.
Well, looking at Jonathan's history, Jonathan's an angry, violent person. He had the anger already towards Jerry, and maybe he took all his anger out on Jerry that night.
Investigators believe John Wheeler may be hiding something, but the only thing they have against him are suspicious phone records. Not enough for a charge. They have no choice but to let him go. Then, detectives dig deeper into his alibi and notice an inconsistency.
We learned that John was at Ross's housewarming party, but when Ross was initially asked about who was at the party, he never mentions John being there. So we start taking the GPS locations for the calls, and we're able to plot the cell towers that these calls are hitting off of.
Cell records for that number that John was using showed him at the cookout around 5 o'clock or so on that Sunday. Then it showed the phone going all the way down to Jerry's house. Almost an hour later, it showed the phone going back up to Ross's house. So we decided to bring Jonathan Wheeler back in for a second interview to confront him on this cell phone location.
You remember what time you left this party? Where did you go after the party? Do you remember?
Home? I don't really remember. I really don't.
About 2.5 hours later, like 7:51 p.m., you're up by Jerry's house. You remember that?
There's no way I'm it.
Man, this is phone tower. This is cell phone records from the cell phone company.
Okay.
These don't lie, man. They hit you with a tower, that's where you are.
There's no way I'm by his house.
You could say no way, but man, your cell phone put you there. The reason I'm asking is why you're here, because Jerry's killed this night, man.
That night? No, there's no way.
He started getting angry, so we started really pushing the buttons now.
I'm asking you why were you at Jerry's?
I was not at Jerry's.
He couldn't give a good explanation on it, and he became extremely agitated.
So it started becoming more of an argument than an interview.
I'm asking you why your phone is showing at Jerry's house. The cell phone doesn't lie, man.
I kept hitting him with, "Tell us why you killed Jerry."
If you want to imply that I killed this guy, give me an attorney.
Am I? Okay.
I've never killed anybody in my life.
All right.
He ended up jumping up and said that he was leaving.
No.
He had no legal right to hang on to him.
If you really think I did it, I'm going to laugh in your face. I'm going to laugh in your face.
He's gone. We're not getting a confession out of him, but we shifted our focus at that point. We said, let's bring Ross in for another interview, and let's see if we can break Ross down and have Ross give him up.
I know this. You know more than you're telling us because you're protecting him.
This is probably one of our last chances at Ross to try to get Ross to fold.
The phone call is him at the house calling you. And just so happens that Jerry is found dead. What are the odds of that?
Trying to see if I can break him down.
This is your business partner. No, look at the damn picture.
He was almost at a point where I thought he was going to break.
Jerry is killed with a kitchen knife, stabbed 32 times. 32 times. That's your business partner right there.
And I'm thinking, all right, we're there. We're almost over that hurdle, and we're going to get him to give him up.
It's done. There's no turning the clocks back anymore, okay? But now is your turn to say, man, it's separation time.
Who has a reason to stab a man 32 times? You do. You've gained from his death. Either you're part of it or you're not. And neither one of us.
And then he just stops.
Jerry's dead, and Wheeler's there. Come to reality.
And he just doesn't give us what we need. He knew the game, and he shut down. At this point, I'm frustrated. We know we're on to the right people, but I can't get that last piece I need. We had a circumstantial case, but it wasn't strong enough yet. So you go back and you start looking back over things. What did I miss? I felt that I was beaten, that I lost.
With Ross and John refusing to talk, detectives are at a standstill. Months pass with no movement on the case, and Ross goes on with his business, seemingly enjoying his doubled income, even treating himself to a Cadillac Escalade.
The detectives were onto something, but they were always commenting about how they just didn't have the hard evidence to get a warrant for arrest.
I was so frustrated because the detectives did so much, but Ross kept sliding by, and we wanted justice for Jerry.
Here we are, 8 months into the investigation. I'm stalled. I'm sitting at work, and I answer the phone, and it's a sergeant from Woodstock Police Department, about 10 miles from Jerry's house. And he's like, hey, I got this guy that showed up here, says he's got information on a bakery murder. And I'm like, oh my God, can you send that guy my way? And shortly after, Michael Thomason shows up at our office.
What is your relationship?
He's my half-brother. Got same mother, different fathers.
So we know we're talking about the right person.
Okay.
Is that him?
That's him.
Okay. Jonathan Wheeler?
Yes, sir.
He said his brother, a few weeks back, made a confession to him about killing a business partner of the bakery. This is exactly the break we needed.
Months after Jerry Moore is found stabbed to death in his own home, there's still not enough evidence for investigators to charge their two main suspects, Ross Byrne and John Wheeler, with murder. But all of that changes when Wheeler's brother comes into the station with an incredible story.
One day he came over drunk, just wasted off his ass.
Like recently, or?
A few weeks ago.
Okay.
And started telling me, I don't even remember doing it, but I stabbed this guy. He had stabbed the hell out of him.
The reason why he decided to come forward was because Michael didn't want anyone else to get hurt.
I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if he had a shootout and died and a cop or somebody died. He's told me before that he's not going back to prison.
Michael also tells detectives that John Wheeler confessed details of the crime to his cousin and roommate Cynthia, and that Ross knew that Jonathan killed Jerry.
She explains to Michael that John told her that after the killing he went up to Ross and Ross cleaned him up and provided him a shirt and pants.
Cynthia's brought in and ultimately agrees to cooperate with investigators. With her statement, they have enough to charge John Wheeler with Jerry Moore's murder. But Cynthia can't connect Ross to the planning of the murder, only that John sought Ross's help after Jerry was dead. They still don't have enough to charge Ross Byrne.
Our theory is Ross doesn't have it in him to commit this crime, so Ross put Jonathan up to this, and he sent John to go to Jerry's house to kill him so he could take over the business.
Ross was the person who had the most to gain from Jerry's death.
Jonathan was arrested, but John refused to cooperate with us or conduct any more interviews with us.
Jonathan wouldn't give Ross up. I don't know exactly what it was with that relationship, but even through the whole investigation, they lied for each other. And it seemed like that they weren't going to be the one that gave the other one up.
4 years after Jerry Moore's murder, Jonathan's case comes up for trial.
Cynthia testified in the trial against Jonathan. Michael testified against Jonathan.
Jonathan Wheeler was ultimately sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. After we convicted Jonathan Wheeler, the jurors all asked a lot of questions about when we were going to charge Ross Byrne for his role in this case. They believed, as we did, that Ross Byrne was involved in orchestrating it as well.
After Jonathan's trial was done, we started looking into Ross's financials and building all this evidence to be able to show how Ross gained from all of this. But it still wasn't the strongest case against him. But we decided to pull the trigger and say, let's do it.
And we arrested Ross Byrne and charged him for conspiracy to have his former partner, Jerry Moore, killed.
Ross is sitting in jail waiting for his court date. We decided to spread a rumor inside the prison that Jonathan Wheeler is planning to flip on Ross and implicate him in Jerry's murder. And Ross got nervous.
Ross Byrne actually solicited another inmate to have Jonathan Wheeler killed.
An inmate came forward and told one of the deputies that Ross was asking around, saying, hey, is there anybody here that would be willing? I'd pay him to kill him because this guy's going to try to flip on me.
From a prosecutor's perspective, this is great evidence of what we call consciousness of guilt. There's no other reason why Ross Byrne, if he was innocent of these crimes, would want to have Jonathan Wheeler taken out.
Ross Byrne is now slapped with 2 conspiracy to commit murder charges, one for Jerry Moore and one for Jonathan Wheeler. Facing life in prison, Ross decides to take a plea deal.
He ended up getting 20 years. When the judge asked him, are you in fact guilty of all his charges? He said yes. He admitted his guilt. This is one case I'll never forget. Not only because it was my first one, but it was one of the most brutal ones I've worked.
For Jerry Moore's friends and family, the long wait for justice is over.
He really meant something to all of us, and especially to me. If you were in need, he was somebody good to have in your corner.
I want everyone to know that Jerry Moore was a wonderful, wonderful friend. I miss his humor. I miss adventures we would go on. I just miss his friendship.
Jerry Moore was a loyal friend and a shrewd businessman who strove for success both personally and professionally. His future looked bright, but he was betrayed by 2 people he should have been able to trust. 2 people who valued money over friendship and put themselves before others. An unsuspecting Jerry Moore never saw coming, all because of a killer relationship.